by releasing your expectations, aka conditions. So love, we just said, so love doesn't come from people, it comes through people when you tune to it.
Cookies don't come from people.
Hate doesn't come from people, it comes through people when you tune to it. Beatings don't come from people, they come through people when you tune to it. When you believe yourself to be worthless, then you'll get beat. You'll get taken advantage of. You'll get used. Because you're putting yourself in relationship with people that will do that. Go ahead.
So, I hear this, but what's the justification when a 1 or 2-year-old child is abused?
There's no justification. That there's a responsibility. Now, before 2 years old, you don't have your own free will yet, so you're just taking on the programming of your parents. So, because your parents didn't deal with their shit, you gotta deal with it. And so if you don't deal with your shit, your daughter's got to deal with it. Somebody's got to take a look at it. Somebody's like, all right, I'm gonna fucking deal with this. We had generations past, and I already see your daughter is just super manipulative. Like she's trying to get what she wants without asking for it. She comes from every hand like, holy shit, how do you learn this stuff? Because it's got passed down, and that's going to be pain for her for the rest of her life unless it gets dealt with. Somebody's got to deal with it. And so you two are here now dealing with it. So she's still young enough that, she's already 8, so that means like she's built her ego now, so it does have to be like deconstructed at this point. But now that you all are doing the work, you can be true role models and show her the way. So yeah, you were just dealing with undealt. Same thing with when we come to health problems. Little babies are born with all kinds of health issues. How could that happen? Well, because it was undealt with. It was dis-ease. Not that your mama not at ease, grandmama not at ease, somebody not at ease, and they didn't deal with it. And so somebody's going to have to deal with it. Sooner or later, someone's going to have to deal with it. You just passing the buck, kicking the can. Sooner or later, face it within or without, by chance or by choice. If you don't deal with it, your children will. If we don't deal with this shit that's going on in the world right now, then our children, our great-grandchildren, they're not going to have any clue what freedom is, what sovereignty is, what abundance is. They're going to be complete slaves forever because we didn't deal with it when we could have. And we're the last generation that can actually deal with it. Yeah, there you go. So, we already talked about that. We want to, okay, yeah, so last thing we're going to go into. So we're going to go.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Because we just have a few minutes, what if we go through this, and then because you're really good at just like zipping right through the triad, you've got it so dialed in, and I've shared most of my portions, so maybe you just kind of see a little bit that I forgot and just do it. Okay, so love doesn't always look the way that we think, right? Fear comforts dysfunction, and love confronts dysfunction. We talked about our shit bucket. That's our way of confronting dysfunction. We do it with non-judgment,
Well, sometimes we're not judging it so fucking well. Let's say, hey, I'm judging your ass. That's dysfunctional, right? Like, throw the shit in there. Like, just whatever it is, like, throw it in there. Stop, like, having a little, like, letting the elephants be in the room. Let's talk about this shit. Yeah, we don't do elephants in the room here. Like, nope, there's some shit right there. And it's in the bucket, and we're going to look at this.
And we all level up together. When we do that bucket, everybody, it's a collective breaker. It's not just this person over here with their shit. It's a family. We all have it.
And the thing about this, see, you don't really have to draw, like, it's not, like, you don't really have to draw lines as far as, like, get out of here. All you gotta do is tell the truth. And I'm telling you, the people that are living lies, they can't exist in your reality anymore. As long as you keep confronting the dysfunction, and they want to stay dysfunctional, because they're dysfunctional if they're lying to you, if they're living inside their fake lies and self. And so when you keep bringing the truth to the surface, don't talk about that, we don't talk about that, we don't talk about that. The moment they do that, that's the moment you talk more. Like if somebody resists me, I'm like, oh, I'm coming in, man. You resisting me? We don't talk about that. Oh, the fuck we don't. That's what we do here. We're going to talk about whatever it is that's hiding in you. We're going to bring that shit to the surface. We're talking about it.
And it's going to be clunky. I get it. It's going to be uncomfortable, especially for the people pleasers. You're going to feel that fire. You're going to be shaking, and you're going to say the thing. Yeah. And on the other side of that, you're going to just have more and more freedom.
Yeah, and if you want to remain in lies, then you'll leave. Because if you want to stay here, you're going to live in the truth. We're not going to hide anything here. Radical transparency. And I mean, we have many people that'll leave, like the last event, last Awaken Life Live we did here. There was like 3 people that like walked out and left because they were losing control. because they were losing their lives. And their ego could see, oh shit, he can see through me and he ain't buying my shit. I can't manipulate these people here. So I gotta go find somebody else that I can manipulate. And they left.
Heaven feels like a really hot fire to the ego.
Yeah, it's that you gotta go in the fiery furnace. Because, well, I'm not gonna go into that. So, we got this thing right here. So this is our last thing before we go. So, it's important for you, Christine, to remember that love confronts dysfunction. What does love do? Confronts dysfunction, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what you never did. And that's what you're going to start doing from this moment forward, right? And confronting dysfunction in yourself. And the reason that you're afraid to do it outside is because you're afraid to do it on the inside. I love confronting my own dysfunction. And because I love confronting my own dysfunction, guess whose else's dysfunction I love confronting? Yours! I love it. Have you noticed how much I love it? And I'm like, oh, you got some dysfunction over there. I love it. But I do the same thing with me. I'm like, oh, I found some shit. And I love it. Because I put the fun in it. It's not a problem. The problem is hiding it. If there were such a thing as a problem, the problem would be hiding it because then it could be perpetuated. So, so here is a perfect example of dysfunction perpetuated. So go ahead.
Okay, so this is sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy is you walk by.
Listen closely.
You walk by, you see someone with a boulder on their chest, and you're like, oh, that sucks for you. And you just keep going, right?
That's sympathy.
That's sympathy. You were sympathetic.
At least you said that sucks.
Yeah. Empathy. You walk by, you see someone with a boulder on their chest, and you get down underneath there with the boulder and you just lay under this boulder.
This thing is heavy. You're right.
Oh, God,
I'm an empath. I don't have any pain, but I feel your pain.
That's right. I'm here. I'm going to hold space for you.
I'm super spiritual, but you're like worthless piece of shit. But I can save you from your pain because I'm going to lay down here with you. I feel like I'm going to have your pain with you. Oh, God.
My favorite part of this part is this. You're really good at being sympathetic. I mean, empathetic.
I'm an empath. I feel your shit.
Okay.
That's your shit. You're laying under the floor because that's your shit.
Christy said stop.
Okay. Yeah, I pushed too many buttons. I just pushed too many buttons with Chrissy there.
Okay, so that was sympathy and empathy. Compassion is you walk by, you see someone with a boulder on their chest, and you're like, hey, you got a boulder on your chest.
Let's get that.
Do you want sympathy or do you want to change this? Yeah. Right? You go over and you lift and you say, yes, I want to change this. And you lift the boulder up so they can be free. But sometimes you'll notice they said yes, and you go to lift the boulder, and you're like, it's like not budging. It's not making it on.
It's a lot heavier than it looks.
And we call those people boulder holders. They're getting a lot from that boulder, and they're
why are they holding on to it?
Why do they laugh?
No, they're not laughing. They're holding on to the boulder. You're trying to pick the damn boulder up.
She said,
What? It sounds like you did.
Oh, no. I was asking why. Why do they hold on to the boulder?
Why do they hold on to the boulder?
Has anybody ever met somebody like this that's like, no matter what you
said,
like,
you want to
I want to get this boulder, and like, they won't let it go? Anybody seen that? Why? Why do they do that? Why are they boulder holders? They're getting something from it.
Yeah, why do they?
Get attention.
Right.
Sympathy.
The boulder is their manipulation tool because they think they're worthless, and this is actually, so most people confuse love and attachments. It's not love at all.
Go for it.
All right, so we're let this thing rip here. So here's why they're holding on to boulders. This is what most people think relationships are. They don't see this thing. They're doing it. They're playing one. Now we all play all of these roles, but not all the time. We all have a go-to. The hero, the victim, and the villain. So guess who the boulder holders are? The victims. Why are they laying underneath the boulder? To lure in a hero.
Yep.
Now, I was a highly trained hero. My mom was a super victim. Not just a victim. She was a super victim. As far as you can go. As far as you can take it. I mean, and it started because she was, raped by her dad and her brother, and she was abused by her mother. Like, her whole family just abused the shit out of her whole life. So she learned that she's this worthless piece of trash, and then people, if I'm down, then people won't hurt me as bad. And they'll hurt me, but if I just fall down, I just lay down, they'll actually won't hurt me as bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and just fall down. And then what the victim does, though, is they try to lure in a hero. So that boulder hole where they're laying down there, and every time one of you empaths show up and you lay down underneath that boulder with them, guess what you're doing? You're enabling them. And enabling someone is teaching them the exact wrong thing to do. You're reinforcing. It's like whenever, I used to drive a parasail boat and I'd take people on dolphin tours, but it says, do not feed the dolphins. Because if you start feeding the dolphins, they're going to leave their natural environment. They're just going to be chasing boats around, they're getting all chopped up and shit. You don't want them to get dependent upon you. And so that's what empaths do. They try to get somebody dependent upon them. They lay underneath that boulder with them and they trauma bond so that you got hooked. You got this person hooked, but they actually hooked you. You thought you hooked them, but they hooked you. You're laying under this boulder. Look, how smart are you? Now you're laying under a boulder with somebody suffering, thinking that you're helping them. So, there was something that you were saying earlier that this is a perfect moment for. Children don't learn by what you say, they learn by what you do. You were saying that I'm sacrificing for my children. But children don't learn by what you say, they learn by what you do. So every time you sacrifice for your children, because you love them, I love my children more than you. Bullshit. You can't love someone more than you love yourself. So you didn't love yourself, and so you were trying to earn your love by trying to make somebody else happy, trying to be her God, but what that did is made her think that you were responsible for her happiness, and she believed it, and now she's miserable because she's not happy, because you never gave her the happiness that you promised her that you could give her, because you weren't ever the source of it. Everyone's saying that I'm not enough for my family because I wasn't created to be.
I'm not enough for my family because I wasn't created to be.
You weren't created to be enough for your daughter. Love was created to be enough for your daughter. Love might come through you, but you're not the source of it. There's a source of it in you, and it'll come out of you, but you can't put the conditions on where it goes. Yeah, and the fact that she says, how scary is that I can't be enough to save my children? But the desire to save your children is what's killing them. Because they're fine. And your belief that they're not, you're programming them to think that they're not okay and that they need you. But you can't save them. All you can do is reinforce their bullshit. And the only reason I know this is because I did it. I went as far as you can go with it. So I was the highly trained hero. So I'll tell you my story. I had a girlfriend, and so after I did a rear end of the car at the stoplight, from this moment forward, I'm going to help other people. And I'm going to make other people, I'm going to build a family. I'm going to make them happy. And I've committed my life. I'm like, I'm going to make them happy if it kills me. Well, it fucking killed me. I died. Who I thought that it died. Because I gave everything. I gave her every ounce. I told you I became from broke, ignorant, blackout, drunk, atheist, beach bum. In 18 months, I made $400,000, started with no money, no credit, no clue. Within 2 years, I built a multi-million-dollar empire. I gave my family the big house, the people we were on vacations. Every month, we're multiple times, we're going all over vacations and just living it up. But for some reason, the more I gave everybody what they wanted, the more miserable they became. What the fuck is happening? How is this possible? I'm giving you everything. Why is it not working? The reason it wasn't working is because so I had my mom, I had my girlfriend at the time, and she had twin boys, teenage twin boys. And it looked like, I remember when I first got here, we were like, is it bat? What? No, it's actually a grasshopper. Look at that neighbor. But so what I didn't realize is that I was a hero in a house full of victims. And so how heroes get their love when they're living in attachment codependency, when they don't know that they are loved, and they're still trying to get it, love is for getting, and they're trying to figure out how to get it, what the hero will do is they will save the victim. So the victim has to have a problem. In order for a hero to get a hit, the victim has to have a problem. When the victim has a problem, the hero comes in, saves the victim, and the victim will oh, you're so amazing. Ah, yes, I am. Thank you. I feel so good. But then what happens? it wears off. The hit wears off. The hero is like sitting there for a while, and then all of a sudden he's like, am I still worthy of love? Like, I haven't saved anybody in a minute. And it starts jonesing. I need a hit. I need to be worthy. And the victim is doing the same thing. He starts jonesing. Am I worthy of love? Well, nobody saved me. And people have to prove to me that I'm worthy of love. And how they prove to me that I'm worthy of love is they saved me. So I don't know if I'm worthy of love, so I need to have I guess, and it's not conscious. All of a sudden, another problem emerges. And the problem emerges to lure in the hero. Suddenly, the hero shows back up. I'll save you. God, I feel so good about myself because I saved you from your shit. And they're like, oh, yes, you're so amazing. And somebody so amazing loves me, which means I'm worthy of love too. Wow, this is such a beautiful thing. But every time the hit wears off, because when you take a hit of a drug, it wears off. But then you got to take another hit. But it's not the same hit. The same hit won't work, will it? You got to take a bigger hit to get the same feeling. Same is true for this, because this, when you're trying to get your love from the outside in, it's a drug, and you become a crackhead. My mind was about to go somewhere. No, just stop it, a crackhead, doing something for love anyway. So anyway, but you are a whore. If you're living on this ride, you're a whore, and we've all been whores. We've all been giving to get. We've all whored ourselves. And so when what's going to happen is it has to keep getting bigger, because the hero's like, I saved you from that shit many times, and it's like, it's not really doing it for me anymore. Like, they're not going to say that, but so what has to happen is that the victim has to have a bigger problem. So the hero can save them from their bigger problems. So the hero, because heroes at some point have to become superheroes. That's like, because they just need more and more. That wasn't enough. I've still got a void. It wasn't enough. I still got a void. So they go finding the most fucked up people to save, or somebody just keeps getting more and more fucked up, because the reason the person's getting fucked up is because their problem has to get bigger and bigger, because they're dying for love. And they think this person, the hero, is the source of it. But every time they get it from the hero, it never fulfills them. It doesn't last. It just makes the void bigger, just like a drug. You need to take more and more hits over and over and over. So, let me ask you a question. Here's what was happening in my house. Why, no matter how hard I tried, the more that I gave, the worse it got? Why was that happening? Well, here's what was happening. Because I had a house full of victims who really truly believed that I could make them happy. I believed that I could make them happy. I was certain of it. And I gave up everything to make them happy. But here's what happened. Why it started to get so bad. Because it got really bad. Here's what happened. Because if the victim thinks that they get their worthiness from the hero saving them, and there's only one hero in a house, and there's 4 victims, what the victims start doing is they start saying, well, whose hero is he anyway? Because they're looking for significance. He's my hero. They're trying to figure out whose hero is, because whose hero he is, that means they're the most loved. And they want to be the most loved. So what they started doing, let me ask you a question. If there's 2 victims, one is getting their purse snatched and one is falling off a building about to die, who's the hero going to save? The one that's falling off the building about to die, because they can be a superhero over here. Oh, they're just the best. Anybody can save a person. Death or I'm the biggest superhero. So what started to happen? My victims were fighting over whose hero I was. Their problems got worse and worse and worse. Each of them were fighting to see who had the worst problem. To the point, it was mainly my mom and my girlfriend were the ones that were fighting the hardest. My mom, so my girlfriend, she's taking 20 Oxycontins a day. My mom, she won. She was dying. She was on hospice. Her heart was running at 5%. She had all kinds of, you'll learn about that tomorrow, but everything, all the shit, the COPD, the asthma, all the shit, the congestive heart failure, what's the thing, all the fibromyalgia, all that. That's a super victim thing. The super victims, they find like the stuff that you can't even find it, right? It's like the hidden villain that nobody can ever fix and save you from, right? So now you get to be a perpetual victim, so perpetually significant. So anyway, super significant, super victim, so you can learn a superhero. But you have to create a super villain in order to get your superhero. So it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I didn't know. I thought that I was saving him. I thought that I was helping, but what was I actually doing? I was killing him. I was killing him. I thought that I was helping. I was hurting. And so I gave him everything that I had, and I had one last chance. My girlfriend, her brother had just gotten out of jail. He was addicted to crack, and he had been stealing stuff to sell the stuff for crack. And then he went to jail, not for doing the crack, but for stealing the stuff. And he went to jail, so he's in jail. He gets out of jail, and my mom's dying, my girlfriend's on 20 oxycontin a day, the boys are punching each other in the face, punching holes in the wall, they're all on drugs as well, and it's just full on fucking hell in my house. And then, but all of a sudden, the brother calls and says, hey, I just got out of jail, I was doing crack, but I'm off of crack, I'm not doing that anymore, but I burned all my bridges, and I just need some help, man. Will you help me out? And I'm like, dun dun dun, my last chance, maybe this will do it. If I can just save him, maybe that will make my girlfriend happy, because that was her younger brother that she wanted. She tried to be his hero, but because she was the older sister, and she raised her brothers, and she was so afraid they were going to become drug addicts, and of course they did, because your biggest fears come upon you. And so it happened. I'm like, wait, but I can fix her by fixing him. So I bring him into the house. Within 2 weeks, with my mom dying, my girlfriend on oxycontin, the boys punching holes in the wall at each other in the face. Within 2 weeks, this man stole my credit card, ran up tens of thousands of dollars. He stole my tools. I was doing real estate investing. He stole all my tools, sold them for crack, and stole my truck. In 2 weeks, when my mom's dying. I'm like, fuck. I can't do it. I give up. I can't.
I represent tomorrow.
Yeah. And I laid down on my head. And I said, I failed. I'm a failure because I gave it all. I'm an all-in guy. And I gave it all, my heart, my soul. I gave everything that I had. And it wasn't enough. And I said, and this was the first time in my life I'd ever said I failed. Because I was thinking, it ain't over till I win. I was just going to keep swinging. But this time there was nothing left in me. And I laid down my head and said, I failed, I'm a failure. And then all of a sudden, this weight lifts off my shoulders. I'm like, what was that? It's like I just started to get light and like free. I'm like, what just happened? And like this phoenix emerged from the fire. You know what happened in that moment? My blueprint died. Everything that I thought that I had to be, it died because I couldn't be it. It was either it died or I died. What are you talking about? And I realized I can't be this. I gave everything to be it, and I can't be it. It's impossible because I tried. And I can't. Which means I'm not that. And if I'm not that, then what am I? Who am I? And suddenly I was free of the blueprint now that I was in level 3. This is how I got to level 3. It took my whole fucking world crashing down on me. And I finally found freedom. And that's when I let all my victims go. I'm like, hey, you're free. You want to die? You're free to die. You want to be on drugs? You're free to be on drugs. You want to punch each other in the face? You're free to punch each other in the face. You're free. Everyone's free. Go ahead. And they're like, what? Now, the hero, what's the hero's biggest fear? If you've heard me say this before, don't say it. What's the hero's biggest fear? I always thought the hero's biggest fear was to fail. Was to fail my victims. I thought that was it. Well, I faced my biggest fear because I failed my victims. It was done. I'm like, all right, I was free. But my ego wasn't done with me just yet. I thought I was good to go. It wasn't done just yet. It had one last little go. The hero's biggest fear wasn't to fail. It would never even cross the hero's mind what their biggest fear is. Anyone want to take a guess what it is? It would never cross their mind? To be the villain. It's impossible for the hero to ever see themselves as a villain. No, I'm a hero. I could never do that. So the biggest fear is to be the villain. You know what happens when the hero stops heroing people? When the hero stops heroing villains or victims, what do the victims do? They turn the hero into the villain because they're playing the hero's biggest fear against them. Hey, if you don't help me, then you're a villain. You're hurting me. If you don't help me, you're hurting me. No, I would never do it. It'll hook them right and suck them right back into the triad. But I'm like, no, I ain't playing that game. No, I ain't doing that. And I released my judgment on the villain. And how I really released my judgment on the villain was it was a painful process. So my ego resurrected one last time. I gave it one last go. And what it started doing is what you did. It stopped heroing victims. And guess what it started doing? Heroing villains. It's like, oh, well, I'm not ever going to do heroes victims anymore. But then it found the villains, and it started saying, oh, I'm going to unconditionally love you. And so how the villain gets their hit, here's how a villain gets their hit. The villain will stab you in the fucking back. And then you as the hero, or if you're the victim, you'll just lay there and let them keep stabbing you. If you're the hero, you'll get up and you'll dust yourself off, you'll pick yourself back up, and then you'll turn right back around and say, but I love you. You're unlovable, but thank God for me. Because nobody can love you except for me. Thank God for me, and I'll love you no matter what you do. And that's when the hero or the villain gets their hit. Like, oh my God, you still love me? Oh, well, even though I stabbed you in the back, you still love me? Wow, I am worthy of love. But then the drug wears off. I'm like, well, I'm not. Oh, I need another hit. So what does the villain do? Stab you in the back again. And then you're, oh God, ow, you hurt me. But I still love you. And what they're going to do is they got to keep stabbing. They got to hurt you worse and worse each time. Because you're enabling the villain. You're teaching them the exact wrong thing to do. When a villain stabs you, what you need to do is draw the fucking line and say, no, you're not going to do that anymore. Because we train people how to treat us, but we also train them how to treat themselves. We train people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves, but we also train them how to treat themselves by how we treat ourselves. So you're training a villain to treat them like shit because you're treating yourself like shit using the villain to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
So my question, which you're answering, was why? I mean, I've gone through 1,000 deaths, but then keep standing back up and redoing.
Yeah, it's time to draw the fucking line. You didn't know what love was until today.
So I created a whole company of victims, and at the end, they all testified against me.
Oh yeah.
You know, the ones that I paid for the child's college and paid for this and did this and did this. And what I hear you saying, but then I keep forgiving, like, because I've got to be the unconditional love. Keep forgiving, and the storyline just gets deeper and deeper and deeper until you just physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Because you're resisting being the villain. You gotta let go of that shit.
Say it again.
You're resisting being the villain. Try this on. I'm the villain and I love that. Yeah, there's the problem right there. Resistance breeds persistence. It'll be done with you when you're done with it. How do you know when you're done with it? When you love it. You don't love being the villain yet, so you're going to be it for forever now. Until you're like, you were the villain with your daughter. You're starting to say, okay, I was the villain, but I didn't mean to. Yeah, you didn't mean to, but you were the fucking villain. You were the villain. So try this. I was the villain and I love that. Or you can just keep doing it.
So, I was the villain.
Yeah, and I love that.
And I loved it.
I love that I was the villain.
I loved that I was the villain.
And the reason that you loved it.
I'm not connecting with it for some reason.
So try this. I was the villain in their story.
So in all the victims.
Or just try this one. I was the villain in their story.
I was the villain in their story.
Correct, right?
Okay.
And I love that.
And I love that.
Why do you love that you were the villain in their story?
I gave them a story.
I was the villain in many people's stories, and I love that.
In other words, you're just loving them.
In my mind, I was the freaking hero. I was doing the best I could ever possibly do yet. In their story, I was the villain. And you know what? I love that. Why do I love that? Because I said I'm going to stop doing what doesn't work. And I used to hate it. And that doesn't work. It works if I want to suffer, if I want to be miserable. But I decided to love that because I said I'm going to stop being insane. I'm going to start to love what is. Okay, in their story, I'm the villain. I love that. And now I'm free of their fucking story. And I can be me. And I can love me again.